Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 11, Episode 39, overall 589 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email them info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership is the official sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show for the past 3 years, and Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969. I hope everyone's doing well on this Monday, September 15th, 2025. I am doing well. I had a very busy weekend. Thursday, I was in Toronto for the Blue Jays Astros game where the Jays won. Friday, I was in Hamilton doing some media coverage of the Tiger Cats Winnipeg game where Hamilton won. And then Saturday, I was back in Toronto for the Argonauts Edmonton game as well. So make sure you check out all my social media pages for pictures, post-game interviews, and some video content as well. I have a ton of it on all my platforms as well. I hope everyone is doing well, and I'm looking forward to my guest today. This is her first appearance on our show, and her name is Karis. She is considered the Greek goddess of comedy, having performed stand-up comedy over North America, alongside notables such as Drew Carey and Jimmy J.J. Walker. She's also an actress, an author, and a podcaster as well for over 11 years. So we're going to bring on stand-up comedian Karis right now and talk a little bit about her career. Good afternoon, Ellen. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am good. I'm trying to still catch up from this weekend where I did 3 sporting events in 3 days in 2 different cities.
Wow, that's a lot. That's I see you're very, very into sports, and I was sitting here as I was listening to you in the intro, and I'm like, I hope he's not going to ask me any sports questions, because that I don't have a lot of answers to. And I'm also from New York. So, you know, we're Jet fans in this house, which means that we're always in mourning. And the Giants are no better. So that I can tell you.
They were close. The Giants were close to winning against Dallas. As an Eagles fan, I was disappointed in the Giants for not getting that job done.
Yeah, well, that's not a win. So there you go. But that's all I know.
No worries, Alan. Hey, and what I've done with this show, when I first started this 6 years ago, it was all sports. But the last 3 or 4 years, I've made it a very diverse show. So I've had actors, actresses, comedians, musicians, doctors, lawyers, shrinks, ventriloquists come on my show. So I've made this into a full diverse talk show, and I'm trying to get back on the radio. And the more you can do at something, the better it is.
Yeah. I like the shrinks part. That sounds like that's something I probably need to listen to.
We need more of them nowadays. Anyways, I was going to say comedy is a form of therapy too.
That's correct. I'm just about to say the same thing. Yes. So I don't have that PhD. I have an MBA in finance. I could do your taxes, but I don't have a PhD in psychology. But as a comedian, stand up, I definitely have very sharp people skills, as does anybody that's been in this business for a long time. You have to. You'll never survive. And plus you have to be able to read an audience. That's like the first thing when you step on stage, it's a feeling, it's a vibe, it's a look, it's a lot of things.
adrenaline rush too when you get on stage in front of an audience.
Yeah. I call it like a nervous energy, because people always ask me, "Are you nervous? Are you nervous?" I would hope everyone is nervous that does this, because I think that means you care. Just not going to get on and saunter on and just start talking. I mean, at least, well, I'll talk about myself. I don't want to talk about everybody, but most of the comics that I know, you're prepared. Everybody's got a little bit of a different process. I'm a paper person because I have the finance background, and it was always about writing on paper. So I list out my jokes. I always have paper. As a matter of fact, before a show, if you ever see me before a show, I either have a notebook or I have paper. I have loose papers. It looks like I'm studying for the bar exam. Like, that's how intently I have to look at my paper. But you want to be prepared. And there's definitely a nervous energy. And for me, I want to entertain people. People came, paid, took their time, perhaps buying beverages and food in addition, the whole thing. And that's your job. Your job is to get them thinking. And my feeling is that they're happier when they left than when they came in.
Ellen, for those people that are watching this live stream or they're on audio, from your experience of being a stand-up comedian, what advice would you give to those people looking to get into the comedy industry from your experience?
Well, I would strongly suggest taking classes with obviously somebody that knows what they're doing. Usually a lot of comics that are at least like 10 years in the business, a lot of them give classes, whether it's at the comedy club, whether they do their own thing, and get into some kind of like writing group, because you need to bounce this off of people. Also, open mics. It bothers me that within the comedy community, sometimes there's such a stigma, like even after like you've sort of like passed that. To me, I haven't been to an open mic in a while, just being honest, not for anything other than I've been working and I'm able to do things on stage, or I can get a guest spot or whatever. But if I didn't, like, let's just say I'm going through a dry period for some reason and I'm not going to get on stage for like 2 months, I would go to an open mic. I don't care. I'm doing this 20 years. Like, you have to practice your craft with people. The difference between now and then when I got started is that you do have social media. We certainly didn't have Instagram. We didn't have TikTok. So that's great. However, people need to realize, just getting into the business, that that's not stand-up comedy. Especially when you're doing a video and then you edit it and stuff, even if it's the funniest video and you get 100,000 hits in, a day, whatever the numbers are, that's great for you, but that's not stand-up comedy. So stand-up comedy is live. You have to be in front of people. You have to also get that feeling. You have to get that vibe. You got to feel the energy. You got to feel the temperature. You've got to also be around the obstacles, like the waitresses and waiters walking around taking an order, right? They're not going to stop taking an order. Of course, we don't want them. Part of the business is to, obviously buy whatever the product is. In this case, usually like food and drink. That's when you're doing a club or a restaurant or something like that. There's also private events. I do a lot of private stuff, but you have to be able to maneuver that. You have to be able to maneuver somebody yelling something out, responding to you. So you got to be out there. So definitely a class or classes that, or maybe there's a bunch of you starting out, you can get together. I mean, maybe it doesn't have to be that formal and then open mics, and then I'm assuming the same thing goes on in Canada. We have what's called the Bringer Show, where they're produced shows by a comic usually, or sometimes a club, and you bring your friends. You got to do that because that's just the rite of passage. And I said this to somebody that's fairly new, and I said something about there's a lot of travel involved. And I live in New York City. As far as I'm concerned, this is the stand-up comedy mecca of the world. I'm not being a snob. I mean, I grew up here and I've lived here my whole life, but it's not about being a snob. It's just about the truth. There's more stand-up comedy here. There's more opportunities for stand-up comedy here. But even with that said, I travel a lot, whether it's I go to New Jersey or whether I get on a plane and I go to, Buffalo, or I was in Indiana last week, whatever it is, there's going to be a fair amount of travel. And I remember there was a new comic that said to me, well, I don't really want to do that. And I didn't say anything. That's fine. But in my inner voice, I'm just like, well, okay, well then you'll do open mics, you'll do whatever the city has to offer in terms of bringer shows. I mean, maybe someone at a club will give you a spot perhaps, but it's limiting. I mean, and that's the other thing too. You have to get out of your region. And so not in the beginning. In the beginning, you take a few years, marinate, learn how to write a joke, learn about timing, all kinds of things. And you know what? I'm doing it a long time. What I do love about it is you're always learning. I remember watching Al Pacino, who's, we can all agree is a great actor. And he was on the Actors Studio, and they asked him, well, do you still use a coach or whatever? And he said, he's like, you're always learning. So, don't think like, okay, I got this, I know what I'm doing. I walk on stage, I prepared, but there are plenty of times where I still learn something.
Ellen, have you ever experienced stage fright or seen somebody have it? And some people can do comedy in front of their family and friends, but soon as they get in front of an audience of people, they kind of shrink.
So that's funny. I would say for many years, it was very hard for me to do comedy in front of friends and family, more family than anything else. Because I come from the Greek family. Nobody's in entertainment at all. I broke the mold, and everybody thought I was crazy because I have a CPA and an MBA and I had a great Wall Street job. And why would I even want to consider this more than just a hobby? So I was nervous because I know I was getting judged very harshly by them. Now I'm more comfortable if a family member wants to come. I don't care. I'm not there for them. Honestly, I'm there for everybody else. So stage fright, again, talking just myself. I mean, I was really nervous for for quite a few years getting on until I became more comfortable with my set, how I delivered it, remembering things. I mean, it's muscle memory. Saturday night, I did a show for a Greek church because I have I have my regular act, obviously, and then I have an act that I use for Greek audiences. It's in English, with Greek words. And I do a long show. I did like 90 minutes. And I'm not saying that everybody does 90 minutes, but, some of these shows are a bit longer. But when you headline, you do at least, you do 50 or 60. Again, you build up to that. But it's a muscle memory as well. Or let's say you have a 10-minute set and you've put in like 2 new jokes, so you got to sort of remember where those are. And then obviously, work them out. But to answer your question, I would say for the first 7 years or so, I probably had a bit of more stage fright as opposed to, anxious nerves and just wanting to do well and, wanting everybody to just, walk away a satisfied customer.
Do you have any rituals or superstitions before a live performance?
I brush my teeth. Usually floss if I can. I definitely bring mouthwash. Yes, I always that is definitely my one ritual. The other thing I like is I like to have a cup of coffee if I can. So I mean, I drink my coffee in the morning, but before a show, I like to have coffee. I don't drink. I drink wine. Sometimes I'm not really a drinker. I don't drink hard liquor or anything like that. I never bring a drink on. Would never bring a glass of wine on stage. So I barely even drink water. Like sometimes they'll put a bottle of water there and I don't even drink it. But anyway, so yeah, I brush my teeth and I do like to have a cup of coffee beforehand. And some comics cannot eat before a show, but if I'm too hungry and you can't see me, but I'm very tiny. I have to eat before a show. I'm one of those where some people like they'll wait, and they'll eat at 10 o'clock. And it's just like, no, if the show's at 8, I want to eat at 7. So I'm not saying it happens all the time, but for the most part, I try to eat beforehand because if I'm hungry, it's like, I get a little hangry.
Ellen, how long does it take you to gauge an audience's mood, and how important is it to make sure you have the right wardrobe outfits for your performances?
The outfits question. I think you're the first man who ever interviewed me to ask me that. I admire the male comics because they don't realize forgetting the work, we all work the same, but in terms of the aesthetics, there are male comics that'll go with the t-shirt and the jeans or whatever, which by the way, to me, that's a no-no. I don't like, you don't have to wear a suit obviously, but I don't like the just t-shirt jeans. I see sometimes Netflix specials or Comedy Central specials where the comic isn't dressed properly. It's like, dude, you're on TV. I mean, my gosh, please clean it up. But for me, I try to dress accordingly. We're not in the winter yet. I like turtlenecks. So like I have a bit of a uniform just in my own wardrobe. I like tight turtleneck sweaters, cotton sweaters. I always do a nice pair of jeans. I always try to do, some kind of shoe kind of thing, no sandals or anything. And sometimes, because wardrobe dress has become more casual, so you can wear like a nice pair of jeans. And then, if you put on a nice top, it really like dresses it up. But it's important to be comfortable. So I make sure that whatever it is, it fits well. I don't have a lot of sleeves hanging, and I don't really wear big poofy things anyway. So that's but that is important. And sometimes in the summer, I like to wear a dress if I can, but it does have to be comfortable. Can't be anything tight fitting. Can't be anything like I think about, the button's going to pop or something like that. So that's that. Yeah, that I think it's important to look presentable. So that was the second part. What was the first part of your question?
I should have wrote that down. Oh, I think I remembered it now. I usually write stuff down because at 53, my memory's not as good. So I always have a pen and a piece of paper with me. How long does it normally take for you to gauge an audience's mood?
Pretty quick. Pretty quick. You get to a couple of jokes, you hear, you see. I like to think of myself. This is just the truth. I'm not trying to blow smoke, or I don't have a big ego. I definitely don't have a big ego. If you met my family, you would know I don't have a big ego. But I'm a pretty good gauge on and off stage of people. I mean, I get a vibe. I get a feeling. I like to say I have a third eye, which, needs Botox. But anyway, beside that, I can feel people out pretty quickly. And I think that I feel like that's something either you kind of have or you don't. I'm not saying you can't develop it, but that's something I always had, even when I had an office job. Like I could tell right away, like that person's intense, that person is lazy, he's not going to really do it, but I could usually tell.
Ellen, do you prefer being the host, opening the show, the middle act, or the closing? And on average, how long is one of your performances on stage for stand-up comedy?
I've done it all. I still continue to do it all. You know, not to sound schmaltzy, but it's all a gift. There are a zillion comics, and then there's people that identify as comics. They're not necessarily comics, but they're getting work. And then there's a ton of great comics. So, you know, when I get asked to do something or I get hired to do something, sometimes for friends of mine, you know, I'll do, you know, like, you know, can you host? I mean, everybody will say for the most part, you know, that the hosting is the hardest. The hosting, by the way, the hosting is the hardest. And I wasn't around in the 80s, but from what I know from the comics that were around in the 80s and during the comedy boom, they said that the host was the one that got paid the most because that was the hardest. And it is. Everybody's ice cold. You got an audience herd. If you're in a club, you know, the drink and the food orders are going on, and you got to kind of keep on going. You know, you're asking questions, and usually you kind of have like a set questions. Sometimes you don't know what people are going to say. You don't know if they're going to want to play with you. So the hosting to me is the hardest. We all say the middle spot, the feature spot, is the easiest, obviously, because you don't have to carry the burden, and they're already warmed up. So, you know, that's the sweet spot. But, you know, if you're the headliner, that's amazing. That's your people, you know, you were the draw. Most people were excited to come to see you. So it's all good. It's all good. You know, but my favorite, I mean, I get, you know, like I said, the feature spot is the good spot because, you know, you do it like a nice little, you do a tight 25. And it's nice. It's great. But I mean, as far as my material, you know, when you headline, like I said, you do 50, 60 minutes. In my Greek act, I always wind up doing longer. So, but sometimes I go and I do, you know, like whatever, you know, someone will say, do 20 minutes, you know, depending on what I'm doing. Hey, can you just do 10 minutes? It's like, I haven't done that in a while, but, you know, sometimes it's like just 20 minutes. Like, okay.
How would you describe yourself as a host, and just thoughts on ad-libbing as a stand-up comedian with ad-libbing?
I mean, I think I'm a good host, but I've seen people like really just, you know, their energy is really at a high level. I mean, I'm high energy, but I'm not like high energy. Like I've seen some people. So I mean, I think I'm a good host, and I could do it. I've done it, and I could do it. My goal is to make everybody feel like they came together. So, you know, so it's important not to just address the person right in the front, you know, to just make sure that you're looking at the back, or, you address them back there. I think that's important. As far as ad-libbing, you can't rehearse ad-libbing. You don't write down ad-libbing. Ad-libbing happens in the moment. So, but as a host, not even as a host, as any comic, if you're going to go out in the audience and you're going to make reference, or you're going to play, which I say play, I don't say pick on, I say play. You've got to be on your A game. You know, first of all, you got to be a good listener, because you got to hear what they're saying so you can respond to it. That's like number one. And hopefully you're quick on your feet.
Thoughts on observational skills as a comedian as well. How important are they?
Well, to me, it's a lot about observation, and then it's a lot about just relatability. But good comics are natural observers of human behavior and of our surroundings and what's going on, whether it's current events, you know, whether it's whatever people are getting revved up about. You have to be present, and you really have to, you know, look and watch and read. And, you know, it's a lot behind the scenes. It's a lot harder than you think.
How important is it to do your homework and research? Because every city, state, or even countries in some cases, every audience is different. So how important is it as a comedian for yourself to make sure you do your homework and research before a show in New York or Chicago or even here in Canada?
So New York City, obviously, I know. Although we have boroughs here, we have neighborhoods. Long Island, which is not far away, is its own entity. It's its own kind of people. Jersey's got its own kind of people. But I've lived here my whole life, so I know that. It's a great question. When I go to another city, I always Wikipedia, and I always or town. Even in Jersey, like, because I don't know every town in Jersey, I'll Wikipedia the town and just sort of see if there's a little tidbit, like, oh wow, Thomas Edison invented electricity in this town. That kind of thing. Like if I can find some little thing to make a reference. Sometimes especially if I'm away, I'm on the road and I'm like at a hotel, I'm kind of taking in the local surroundings and, trying to pick something up. I know when I did a show in Montreal, I made reference to the French fries with the gravy, the poutine.
Poutine.
So
French fry gravy and cheese curds. Oh, it's the best.
Oh my God. That is like food before you go to the electric chair food. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy stuff. So, something like that, whether it's a food or whether it's something, but yes, and that's usually when I get on stage, especially in a place I've never been to before, I always make some kind of reference.
Montreal, I've never been to, but they love their food and they love their comedy as well. And
Yes.
Besides poutine, did you get to try any of their smoked meat down there?
Did I? I think so. Yeah, it's been a while. I think so. I will say that I've been to Canada a bunch of times, Toronto, Ottawa, even Regina. I did a show
Regina,
there.
Saskatchewan. Wow.
Saskatchewan.
Regina, Saskatchewan.
Wait. Where else? Montreal, Toronto. I feel like I'm missing one. Canadian audiences are the best. Everybody just wants to have a good time. Nobody's politically correct. One of my favorite shows ever was in Montreal. I think it might have been a suburb of Montreal, and it was a Greek American show, and it was in an event space. And we went to this basically like a shopping plaza. We walk in, very ominous from the outside, walk in, and the guy decorated it like the Delano in Miami, like with the white, and the white curtains and the couch. It was beautiful. There were 500 people. I felt like a rock star. It was amazing. It was one of my favorite shows. But yeah, no, Canada loves comedy. I don't know if it's the cold and they just want to laugh to warm themselves up, or that, it's just an appreciation. You guys have Just for Laughs, the Montreal Comedy Festival, which really is still one of the most prestigious of all the comedy festivals. People aspire to get there. So I went once. No, I didn't perform, but I went once to, check it all out. I mean, it was crazy. It was really great. Awesome.
I've had a lot of comedians on my show from the States and Canada and stuff like that. And by the way, I was in Toronto recently and I was at Second City and saw a comedian friend of mine perform there, Mary Kennedy. And Second City is where the late John Candy and a lot of the former SCTV guys performed as well. So everybody thinks of Canada as hockey and beer and donuts, but we've had a lot of terrific comedians, and the comedy industry is huge. And when you come back to Toronto again, please let me know, because I'm only an hour away from Toronto, and I love going to see different comedians nowadays. It's like a form of therapy too.
Well, okay, a couple things. One, that what you said was so true. I mean, people don't understand Dan Aykroyd, Howie Mandel, actors, a lot. Michael J. Fox was from Canada. Jim Carrey. Yep. I mean, a lot of
John Candy.
And also, I have to watch that documentary. Schlitz Creek Well, those people.
Eugene Levy.
Oh my,
SCTV days.
oh
I
my
don't know
God.
if you saw. I don't know if you've ever heard of SCTV, but it
Like
was our
only
version of Saturday Night Live.
right. Only because of reading about it. And so I go on and on, but yeah, a lot of talent comes out of entertainment. Talent comes out of Canada, and I know Mary Kennedy, and I love her. She's so talented, and I know she's traveling with her one woman show, and she's
Yeah.
amazing. She's a great gal. I really like her a lot. Very
She's
funny.
been on my show, and I had a picture with her, and I saw her in Toronto. And me and Mary have something in common too. Besides, she loves Canada and that. Her birthday's the same day as mine, June
Oh wow.
29th. She's the
Oh,
same age as me, but I think I'm 1 year older than her. So she's,
all right. Hopefully she's okay with you saying that, but okay, good.
but she looks like she's 30. But I've been very lucky to have yourself on, Mary Kennedy, and many comedians as well. And everybody has a different, unique story. And I got to ask you this before I get into this question. Wanted to get your thoughts on this. You've been doing stand-up comedy now for 20 years. How much would you say you've improved and evolved as a stand-up comedian over those 2 decades?
Oh my gosh, tremendous. Yeah, I mean, no comparison. I don't really go back and watch my old stuff. One, who has the time? And two, I don't want to see that I was thinner then. But yes, for me, it's absolutely been an evolution. I think I was, when I came out, a beginner comic, what a beginner comic is supposed to be. And I think at the 5-year mark, I sounded like pretty much someone, that was doing it for 5 years. And also I was still working at the time. I still had my job. So it wasn't like I can go traveling around. Everything was at night. But fast forwarding to today, I mean, if I have to compliment myself, I'm more than competent. I'm a good, solid comic. And I'm also like, if you tell me I'm not, let me say this. I'm not dirty, raunchy. If you say, you could say whatever you want. And we actually had this conversation right before we went on air, because I didn't know what kind of salty language I can use. But when I do church shows or I do fundraisers or whatever, it's clean. And I do pride myself on being clean. And if you said you could say whatever you want, then it would be some curse words, because I'm from New York and that's kind of how we talk in real life. And I'm not putting anybody down. This is just me. But I'm not into the raunch, just sort of kind of heavy. And I want to get a response, and to each his own. That's not how. And not because also I'm not 25 anymore. I wasn't even like that when I started. So that was never my thing. But I will say that I have worked really, really, really hard to get to where I am. So it hasn't been easy, whether it's, just the getting of the gigs or the writing. And also too, you bomb. And, even sometimes, like now, I don't bomb, but I might not have the show that I want or I know could have been. So that happens, it happens certainly less frequently as as the years go on, hopefully. But you had a lot of that, and it humbles you. It makes you work harder. When you have a bad set, whatever it is, I mean, you can't blame the audience. You got to look at yourself and be like, okay, I mean, maybe they weren't great. That I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but you also have to see what it is that, you went wrong with you as well. So yeah, I've had a lot of disappointments, whether it was from the business end of it or shows. Sometimes, you go to a show and it's not set up right. It's either like the room's too dark, the audience is far away, the mic doesn't work. That's why we're always, the first thing we say is, where's the mic? Test the mic. What kind of mic is it? Is it a wireless mic? Does it have batteries? I mean, people think we're crazy sometimes, but it's like, you don't understand. If people can't hear the jokes, there's no show. That's why, like with some of these private things, I'm like, is it? Yeah, and especially if there's food involved, I'm like, people have to sit. No serving while I'm on. Especially again in a club, it's a little different. But when I'm doing something like a private event or whatever, no serving, no, like, have the dinner, clear the table, let them get their coffee, and then we'll start. I don't want I don't want to kind of have to deal with that. So there's a lot of things to make it that are factors that sometimes make or break a show.
Ellen, I have a viewer who's going to be on my show in a couple weeks. He's actually a motorcycle rider in LA. He was in the military, Navy, I think military for 20 years in the States. And he works in aviation area. And his name is Edward Hearn. He wants to ask you, Ellen, any chance you will be performing in the Las Vegas area in the near future?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you for your service. I'm a big supporter of the military. So thank you. And I don't have anything on the schedule. You never know. But I'd love to come to Vegas and perform. I know there's a few comedy clubs there, or there's a Greek church there that I've actually tried to inquire about. So, but I keep checking my schedule, or, follow me on Instagram at Greek Chick Comic. I post everything I'm going to be, wherever I'm going to be, I post on there as well.
Just a technical difficulty with the Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're back.
Okay. Did you get all that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got all that. I wanted to get you their thoughts too. What's one word to describe yourself as a stand-up comedian? And what has been your toughest audience so far in your career, if you've had one?
One word to describe. I'll say, sassy. I would say sassy, sarcastic, slash sarcastic. And I do like self-deprecating stuff. And again, I would never insult anybody. It doesn't mean I don't play with them, but there's a line, right? So that I would say, just sassy. I like to think smart as well. I bring some of that. Worst audience, I mean, I should
have rewarded it. Your favorite audience or best audience?
My favorite, well, that Montreal show was a great show. I remember early on, I did a show in Clearwater, Florida, and this got to be like 2006. And it was a Greek show. And I hosted, and I opened up for two guys. That was amazing. A lot of the Greek shows are fun. I shouldn't say that. A lot of the shows are fun. What makes them not fun or mechanical, and thank God these are few and far between, is, like I said, like if the setup isn't right, or it's just sometimes it's a place where it's not for comedy, like sometimes, if it's outside, really, I know during COVID, we tried to do all that because we were desperate, but for the most part, outside comedy doesn't really work, in my opinion. So, for example, you have a lot of Greeks in Canada, and
yes.
the churches always have festivals, right? Greek festivals. So I've been asked, I've done about 4 or 5 of them, to do comedy at the Greek festival. And I'll tell you right now, it doesn't work. And going forward, I won't do them. Now I'll do this. I always say, I go, let's do the comedy. I want to come to your parish, but let's not do it at the festival. There's way too much going on. People are walking around, they're eating, they're cooking. People come, they sit, they listen for 5 minutes, they leave. That's not the way it is. You're not going to get the most out of me. The best thing to do is we do a comedy night on a separate night where people come, they know what they're coming for. You could still serve food and all that, all that other kind of stuff. So I've had a few of those where I appreciate they brought me, but it really isn't a place for comedy. So I would say, those aren't great. I'm yelling, there's music, You know, you don't want to have to compete with anything.
A lot of distractions.
Yeah. It's not. No, it's right. And what you need is the opposite. It's like, look, you go to a Broadway play or you go to a play, right? You don't have 14 things going on. You're watching the play.
Since we're speaking of distractions, when you do live stand-up comedy, do the clubs have like notices about turn your phones on silent? Because I'm sure you probably get audience members where their phone goes right off during a performance.
You know, I have to say, I've been pretty lucky. There hasn't been that much of that. And, you know, if it does, usually the person just forgets to do it by accident. You know, it's not like I want to ruin her show, you know, so it's fine. You make a joke or, you know, or sometimes I just ignore it. You know, it depends. It's just like sometimes you're there and there are people and they're chatting. And so this is like my rule. I'm not one of these where I'm going to start yelling at somebody. I'm not there to fight with the audience. And especially in a club situation where the producer is there, that's their job to go and to tell people, hey, you want to pipe down. If they're being distracting, I mean, if they just say something for 30 seconds, it's not a big deal. But, you know, if there's people chatting and stuff, there's a comedy club. She doesn't work at the club anymore, but there's a comedy club in New Jersey called Bananas. And there was a woman there. Her name was Denise, and she ran the club. And we're still friends. I saw her actually not that long ago. She's amazing. All the comics loved her. She's just amazing. She's like me. She's like little thing. I've never seen somebody protect comics like this woman. Like I remember sitting there one time. I was emceeing. I had already went on. I came back. I sat down, and there were two people in the back, and they were like, as a matter of fact, I might have even went out and said something or whatever. She came barreling in, and she said, either you pipe it down or you're out. I'll give you your money back. And like that's what you want in terms of the club, and that's how things don't escalate when you have, you know, people that are, you know, kind of, you know, protecting you. So to kind of circle back, if I'm emceeing, because it's usually the MC's responsibility, but I'm not going to tell people to shut up and whatever. That's not my thing. And if people are really distracting, you know, they'll continue on. And if I do say something, it's in a nice way because that's how it gets antagonistic. Now, I've seen comics go to, you know, right toward the people, you know, chew them out, like you better shut up, you better shut up, whatever, which is fine. That's their choice. But I think it winds up being a very uncomfortable situation, even though the comic is right. They shouldn't be talking. They shouldn't be on their phone. They should, you know, I get it. But sometimes, I mean, unless you really can handle that, and I don't really want to put myself in that situation, then, you know, I like I said, I ignore it. There was a comedy club in Hartford, Connecticut, and it was great. It was fun, but it was the audience was always very chatty. And one of the reasons they were chatty is because it was a big room, but there was sort of like people on this side. It was a restaurant really downstairs. It was downstairs of a restaurant, and you know they served a lot of food there as well. And then in the back they had like booths, so almost those people were sort of isolated in a way. And that is not conducive for comedy because now those people, it feels like you've given them permission to have a conversation because they're all in their own little area. And that room was always very, very tough. But I didn't scream in the back of the room like, shut up. Again, that wasn't my responsibility. That was the manager who was there, you know, that we needed to go around to tell those people.
Ellen, I wanted to ask you this too. How did you come up with the name Greek Goddess of Comedy? And besides how you got that name, can you just tell us how important it is to market and brand yourself as a stand-up comedian in a very competitive market?
So, answer the first question. So I was doing open mics in the beginning of my career. And I went to this one mic at the Comedy Cellar every week, twice a week. And the guy that hosted it, this guy, Sal, he would always, you know, when he got to know me a little bit, and he was like, and, you know, he'd give everybody an intro and he goes, oh, the Greek princess. And I'd come up and I'd be the Greek princess. And then it sort of evolved. I did not give myself that name. it totally evolved. And then, and because there was a friend of mine that was someone I met doing comedy, and she was like the princess, the goddess. And then I started to do the Greek audiences, and I partnered with a guy by the name of Basil, who's actually pretty well known in the Greek community and still a very good friend of mine, and is hilarious and funny and fantastic. And then another friend of mine, Jim Mandrinos, and we did a little tour, and we called it the Greek Gods of Comedy. So he was sort of, Basil was sort of the Zeus, and then I was the Greek goddess. And it was sticking, and people, and there really weren't any other Greek American comedians. There was a woman before me, and I'll even say her name because she's fantastic. Her name is Karis. And she was she's very known in the New York area, especially. And I remember I approached her and I asked her, because she was there before me. And I said, "Are you do you do Greek shows?" She's like, "Yeah, I don't care." She goes, she didn't really do Greek shows. She really did more clubs. And because I felt like I had to have like a little permission, but other than her, there really wasn't anybody. So that's kind of how that happened. And then it was good. It was natural. It just stuck, which was great because it wasn't something I forced. So, and then branding, it's all about that, right? People want to know, what do you talk about? What's your thing? What's your, this person's the relationship comedian, Jerry Seinfeld's the observational comedian. I mean, I think being Greek and being known as the Greek American comic has certainly, and it's funny because in my life, I'm very proud of being Greek American too. So again, it's not something that I had to force. So I think that that's a big part of my branding. And I mean, that's, that, and, like I said, I'm clean and I can work that way. So I don't have any special bells and whistles that, they go, "Oh, that one." Like, I don't have props. I don't have any of that. I'm trying to think of a comic that, is known for something. But for me, I think because it's always the Greek girl. So that's fine. That works, right? It's an identifier, and I'm from New York. So that, the Greek girl from New York. So.
Do you have any merchandise for sale on your website?
The only merchandise that I have is it's very specific. So I wrote a book about being a godparent in the Orthodox Christian faith. So I'm a Sunday school teacher, and I am a woman of faith, and I'm very proud of it. And I wrote a children's book about being a godparent. So I have that. It's called Special People, Godparents in the Orthodox Christian Faith. And you can get it on Amazon. And that really, and then I don't sell them. It's funny. I don't sell them at like my regular shows. I do sell them at the Greek shows because, obviously it relates. Sometimes if I'm doing a show, like I'm going to Buffalo on Saturday and I'm doing the church, and then I'm staying overnight. And then in the morning, I'm going to go to the church and read to the Sunday school children. So I do that because I love to do that. So that's it. Years ago, I mean, I had a DVD. I mean, I still have some in the closet. I had a DVD, I had CDs, but nobody's really buying those anymore. And I did.
That market's shrinking.
Yeah, it dried up. Yeah, listen, 15, 20 years ago, I used to, because I didn't have anything, and I used to see comics, walk away with, $600 or something, just from like that, or $1,000 just from selling all that stuff. And I did have T-shirts for a very short period of time, Greek chick comic. I had another thing, but honestly, unless you really are making a really good amount of money, the schlepping, the suitcase, or you got to ship them separately. I mean, I can't. And
it's
then
a lot of work.
I see some comics, they sell keychains and people buy them as shot glasses and stickers. It's just not me. I'm not into the tchotchke thing, so I just don't. I just hire me. That's what you can do for me. Hire me.
for me, a couple years ago, I had my own T-shirts and my own coffee mugs, and
Uh-huh.
the only problem was I ended up losing money on it because I was giving away the T-shirts and mugs instead of selling them for the money that I should have been. So if you're
Right.
going to do merchandise, you got to make sure you don't give it all away for free, because then you end up losing money too.
Yeah. I just, it wasn't worth it. So that's sort of my thing. But my book is great. And I mean, I have inventory in my book because, like I said, I'll sell them at the Greek shows, and then it's available on Amazon. So, and that also, you asked me about a brand. I mean, that's part of my brand,
Yep, yep.
So,
Is the book available on hard copy too?
no, it's just a soft cover book. So,
Soft copy book.
and talk about learning. I'd never written a book before. I had
Wow.
no idea what it was like. And for this book too, I needed an illustrator. So I had to get an illustrator. She was great. She did great drawings, but it took a long time because in the middle of when we started working on it, COVID hit, and she had two little kids that she had to homeschool. So she had to postpone it, and so it was a little more delayed than I wanted it to be, but it turned out great. I'm really, really proud of it, and it's what you call evergreen. It's not going to go out of style, and it's it could be purchased at any time of the year. So.
Did you self-publish this book? And also, do you have any plans for another book in the future about your comedy career?
So yes, I self-published. So here's the good news. The good news is now all these years later, as opposed to 20 years ago, if you went to go write a book, you needed a publisher. You can just self-publish on Amazon, which is what a lot of people do. So that was awesome. And thank God for my web guy. God bless him. He helped me with this setup because there's a little bit of technical stuff in loading things up on that. It's called KDP Publishing, is the publishing arm of Amazon. So so that's great. I order them. It's easy peasy, and that's all great. I do have an idea for a second book. I really like another children's book, but I haven't really put that together yet. And it's not really a priority. I have thought about, and I have like notes all over about writing a book about being a comedian and, sort of like my journey and stuff. But what happened was I also had an idea about a play about my great-grandmother. And a couple of years ago, I remember I actually put it out on Facebook. Should I do a play? Should I do a book? Should I do both? Whatever. And this one friend of mine who I respect, a comedian, goes, pick one and do it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the play, because the play is also about acting, and it's, offering something else other than stand-up comedy. Obviously I would be, in it. And so anyway, I did that, and I kind of pushed the book part to the side. But so I haven't really thought about writing a book, because I've been really engrossed in the play. And it's true. I mean, look, unless you have a team of people and people helping you and stuff, you can do multiple projects. I'm not Tina Fey, so I don't have those resources. So it's just little old me. And so I'm working on the play.
Speaking of Tina Fey, you were in one of her movies called Sisters. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we auditioned. So we were, technically, background, but we were what's called featured background. And it was one of the best acting gigs I've ever had. And I remember it was like they brought us in groups to audition in front of producers and stuff. And so then I got it, and there was a wardrobe fitting. So I am in a scene. If you watch the movie, and it's on Showtime, it's they'll play it. It's called Sisters. It's with Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, and a lot of the other SNL people. And because they all work together, right? They all collaborate together on projects and stuff. And as a matter of fact, the person that wrote that movie was a woman by the name of Paula Pell, Pell, and she's a writer on Saturday Night Live. So I remember I wore a pink dress in the movie, and I had two pink dresses because we were in the same. It was the same scene. It was the party scene. I mean, different things happened during the party, but it was the big party scene. And it's like, if the movie is 90, I don't know how long the movie is exactly, like 100 minutes, it's the party is like 30 minutes. And then 30 minutes of a movie is a lot of filming. So the filming was done in Long Island. So there was a bus from the city. So I live in Manhattan. I went down to 36th Street. There'd be a bus there, whatever the call time was, to get on the bus. They would take us out there. And the studio was there was a company called Grumman, which was aeronautics and engineering. And then obviously they gave up some space. I don't know if they're still around there. I don't know how much business there still is with Grumman, but it used to be a very, very big company in Long Island. Anyway, they bought one of their huge warehouses. They turned it into a studio, and that's where the set was for the party. And I was there for a month. We worked for like 4 or 5 weeks, and long hours, a lot of hurry up and wait kind of thing. But it was great. And they were like, right, Tina, everybody was like right there, it wasn't like you were in a stadium and they were down at the field. I mean, we interacted with them. And so it was a lot of fun. So if you watch the movie, I'm in a pink dress. You can't miss me. I am flitting about all over the place.
And where's that movie again available online?
It's online. Yeah. Or some TV, they air it, or I'm sure it's on Amazon, and, it hit the movie theaters whenever. And, it's been around a long time, but John Leguizamo is in it. He was really nice. He was very chatty, really friendly. Like you were just, just shooting the breeze. Maya Rudolph was in it. Renee Glastonbury, she was in Hamilton. Ike, I forgot what his name is. He was on the Emmys last night. Bobby Moynihan, Diane Wiest, James Brolin. They played the parents. They had come. It was wild.
What was your favorite scene in that movie? And just quick thoughts on Tina Fey.
My favorite scene when we were dancing was really fun. I love dancing. It was great. It was very fun. But it was all good. It was all good. They were, those ladies, their connection. I mean, they're like sisters, these people really are a troupe. Oh, Rachel Dratch was in it, and I did some stand-in work for her as well. Tina Fey. So I would say Tina Fey was probably, I don't say this in a bad way, but she was probably like a little more reserved in her personality. However, she was also, they were like executive producing. So it wasn't like they were acting and then they went into their little trailer. It was like, then she'd go look in the dailies, or, she would look to see how the scene went. And her husband was there too. They worked together a lot. So I would say, she was very like in interacting with her, her co-stars and stuff. She was great. And she also gave ideas, I would say. But in terms of like chatting with, people, Amy was probably a little bit more relaxed. But nice, really nice. Everybody was great. Because, listen, they are working. I know we're having fun, but like they need to get a product out, and there's a budget. And even though they had probably a pretty decent sized budget, but it's still, time is money. So you're trying to get it right. The director was very good. He was excellent. He was really nice.
Ellen, do you got time for a few more questions in a few more minutes? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to get your thoughts on this too, because I've had some other comedians going into acting as well. How much has being a stand-up comedian kind of helped your acting career?
It has helped it a lot, because if you could do stand-up comedy, you can do a lot of other art forms, because that one is the most raw. It's you, the microphone, and the audience. I call it the real reality show. That's a reality show, not the stuff that's edited on Bravo. Not taking away from that, because I watch those too, but this is, stand-up comedy is real time. So it definitely gave me nerves. And also, and I'm going to quote something that actually Amy Poehler said that I read. She didn't say it on set. She said it, and I had read it. Comedy ain't pretty. So you have to be able to make yourself look ugly or silly or whatever it is that you wouldn't be doing really in real life. So it's definitely helped me, as opposed to the reverse, I would think.
What's one word to describe yourself as an actor? And when you're playing a role, do you prefer to be the good person or the kind of the bad person?
You know what? Again, I mean, whatever it is, it's a gift. It's, these jobs are hard to find. So, I mean, as an actor, I'm prepared, responsible. You're not going to not hear from me. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to know my lines. And I think I'm good at getting direction. I don't have a big ego about it. It's like, I want to give you what it is that you want from me to hire me. And yeah, I remember I was doing a play one time, and there was a line. It was about Frankie Valli, and I did this, and it got a laugh. And the director, because we were going to do the play again, and the director was like, next time do it this way. And I said, well, I got a laugh, do it this way. And I was like, okay, if that's what you want. And I knew it, and I did it the way he wanted, and I didn't get the laugh. But I'm not going to have like a big creative argument about it. It's like, this is your play, you're directing it. And, so I look, I worked in public accounting and in finance. I had bosses, and maybe that's, comes from that, because I know about that. I had strict Greek parents. So I'm not saying I listen to everything everybody says. I'm just saying, I'm not going to be high maintenance. So, I mean, as long as, I'm not working in disgusting conditions, or something, but I'm pretty flexible.
Do you have any tips for memorizing your lines?
Everybody's muscle memory is a little different, probably. I look at stuff a lot. I go over things a lot. Sometimes I write things down. Sometimes I take notes. That's just from a lot of school. So, and this is going to sound, again, however it sounds, I'm just telling anybody that wants to go into the arts, stand-up comedy or whatever, take it for what it's worth, but this is your instrument. Your body is your instrument. You got to keep everything clean. I don't smoke pot. I don't drink. I don't do any, external medication or anything. I don't take any medication as it is, but I'm just saying, just like, I don't know what to tell you. It's not going to help you. It's certainly not going to help your memory, eat right, take care of yourself. That doesn't mean that you don't indulge in chocolate cake, because God knows I do. That's my weakness, is chocolate, by the way. But,
who's the best chocolate cake in New York?
I'm glad you asked that. It's on Broadway in a neighborhood called Inwood, and it's a place called Choc, CHOC, It's the most amazing chocolate cake on the planet. My friend lives up there, and when we get together for our dinners, he always brings it, and it's the most amazing chocolate cake. But other than chocolate, of course, but you got to take care of yourself. You have to. You can't. You have to. And you got to be present, and it's also, just like physically, just sometimes it's not like the stand up or the 30 minutes or whatever I'm doing. It's like all the traveling, the schlepping, the going to the airport, getting out the plane, going to the hotel, not sleeping in your own bed. The pillow isn't good, whatever. I mean, sometimes it's all those things and not necessarily the show. So my big thing is take care of yourself. You know what to do. Don't smoke, don't drink,
and mental health too.
What?
And your mental health too.
Yeah. So yeah, mental health, meditate, whatever. Yeah. But you gotta, take care of yourself. I mean, listen, people have life stresses. We all do. So, that will come into play. Something will hit you in the face where it's going to be hard. I get it. Believe me, I've been there.
Alan, before we wrap this show up in a couple minutes, do I have time to play your little video clip courtesy of your YouTube channel?
Sure, of course.
Okay, and just give me 1 second and I'll put the audio on. And this is courtesy of Alan's Karis's YouTube channel, Alan Karis. So make sure you hit subscribe, like, and follow. And please let me know if you can hear the audio okay.
Okay.
I have to say, I did know my husband for a very long time. Before we got married, before we decided to get married, I knew him for 12 years, which I know is it's crazy, right? And yes, we've been 7 married, so I know a long time. So, and I have to tell you, when we told our friends that we were getting married, they were in shock because they thought, you're going to be one of those couples, you're going to get married. They were like, oh my, why? Why now? I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you why 2 people that have been dating for so long decide to get married. Because one day you look at that person and you realize you're not going to do any better than that. That is the truth. This is it. This is it. That and the health insurance. I'm not going to lie. I like you people. Yeah. He had health insurance, right? Which is what I should do. They should be doing with the dating websites. They should hook up people that have health insurance with people that don't have health insurance. He loves Groupon. Does anybody into the Groupon? The Groupon groupies? All right, that's okay. You can say it. It's fine. We won't judge. So he loves Groupon, and it was very sweet. For our anniversary last year, he surprised me, and we went ziplining over Flushing because it was $14.95. CVS, let me tell you. Gotta live on the edge. Did you guys watch the Oscars? Do you watch the Oscars? Okay. So, do you know the Oscars? They always have the accounting firm that comes out and they say they do the tallying for who the winners are. Okay, I worked for that accounting firm. I did, and I had a revelation this last year when I watched the Oscars. I realized that I had a better shot at going to the Oscars as an accountant than I did as an actress. I do work out. I mean, listen. My motivation is my mother's ass. It's basically what it is. I don't know if you're familiar with the Greek ass, but it's big. And I know you're looking at me like, oh my God, you're so tiny. I know. I'm 102 pounds and I'm 87 pounds of ass, and that's how that math works. I do it all. I do the cardio sculpt and the spin and the Pilates and all this stuff and the dance and I'll tell you, who made that all up? You know who instituted that? ISIS. ISIS. It's ISIS's plot to get back to us. They said they were going to get us from the inside.
Thoughts on this video clip, your DVD sample clip?
Oh my gosh, it's hard to look at yourself sometimes. Yeah, that was a while ago when I recorded that. It was a great night, and everything fell into place. I tried to record a bunch of times. Recording is hard. Recording a special is super hard, and that was just one take. I didn't do 2 shows and splice them together. That was it. So I remember it was very nerve-wracking, but I did an hour. That was on my DVD, and I was proud of it. I haven't done. I record. I always bring my phone and stuff, but I kind of hesitate to do another special. I don't know. Now everything is download. Like I said, at that time, people were still buying CDs and DVDs. So, but I did do a dry bar comedy special, and they produced it. So that was nice. That was about 3 years ago when I went out there. But other than that, it's interesting. A lot of comics, and we didn't really talk about, social media that much with comedy, but a lot of comics put out a lot of material on social media. And I came from the school of that you don't put out a lot of material, because the theory is if you put out a lot of material, then who's going to want to come and see you? But a lot of comics do put out crowd work, which is something that you can, I mean, some comics are like, that's not really comedy or whatever. And I understand. But in the same token, at least you're putting something out there and you're not burning through material. Now, if you're like constantly writing new stuff all the time and whatnot, you got to do what you feel is comfortable. But I'm a little proprietary about, kind of how much I put out there. So I don't really put a ton. But if I've got a funny, something that happened, with the crowd, and not like, hey, what's your name? What, I see some of that. Hey, what do you do? Oh, you're a gardener. Oh, okay. That's cool. I'm not doing something like that. I mean, I have to have like some kind of, interaction, but it's definitely opened up the playing field. That is for sure. So, but anyway, that clip and that night and putting that together, that was like another thing. I was like writing a book, that was a long time coming.
I wish we had more time tonight, because I could probably talk to you for 4 or 5, 6 hours. And I've learned too to ad-lib and think on my feet. Listening skills are just as important as talking. And when I started this, Ellen, 6 years ago, this podcast show, I had everything scripted and all that. And I had a couple of guys from professional sports come on, and they're like, Chris, it's okay to write down notes and points, but have a natural conversation with your audience and your guests, because it makes it better. It makes for a much better show than having somebody read off a script.
Right. Yeah. Well, no, you were great. You're great. You're keep doing what you're doing. I've got a podcast also, if anybody wants to listen to it.
Plug it. Yeah, plug it. Go ahead.
Yeah, Sweet and Salty with Ellen Karis. I put it out once a week. Sometimes I have guests. Sometimes I call what I call thoughts and talks, which is my, as I open the show, it's usually like a half an hour. I actually did one today. A new one is coming out today, where I say that it's, I talk about what's going on in my life, some current events, and whatever else flies out of my mouth in the next 30 minutes. So, I do that. Or like I said, I have guests, and I've been doing mine for 11 years, 12. It's almost like 12 years now. Long time.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, another evolution, but it's good. I love it. I like asking the questions too. So, because I feel like it doesn't always have to be about me. I like to hear what other people have to say, for sure. So,
is it on video form too, or just audio platforms?
So when I have a guest, I do have it on video, and I have it on my YouTube page. But if it's just me, then it's just all audio. But they're all I have all of them as audio.
And it's all available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio.
Right. Correct. Yes. Correct. Fun
How
facts.
often? And you record once a week. Yeah. What's one fun fact? You don't have to answer this, all of it, but what's one fun fact about Ellen Karis that the audience might not know about you?
Fun fact. Well, I mentioned my whole chocolate thing. I work out. I like to work out. I do high intensity interval training, and it's important. If I don't work out, I can skip a day, but if I don't, if like a couple days goes by, I'm like cuckoo. I have to work out, just mind, body, and soul. So, and I love my faith.
Finally, this is a new segment I created. It's called Ask the Host CDP a Question. Do you have a question to put me on the hot seat before we wrap up?
Yeah, I have a few questions, but we'll just make it one. So are you interested in doing stand-up comedy ever?
Paula Jane Newman, who is a comedian now in Los Angeles, I don't know if you've connected with her yet. She suggested that too, but I don't know if I don't know. That's a good question. I do love talking to people, interacting with people, and being in front of people. I just never thought about that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look, it's a journey and it's a career. But I think if there's a curiosity, people should try it. Doesn't mean that you're going to, that you're necessarily it's going to blossom into a big career. But I think it's good for everybody to get in back of a mic and, in back of a, yeah, I guess, or the mic's in front. So you're in back, right? And I don't know, write some stuff. I mean, it's like creative, or I mean, if music is your talent, then, and you want to learn an instrument, then do that. Like, I think we all need to do things that are out of our comfort zone. And I think that anything in the arts, or whether it's going to museums and reading, and I put myself in this category too. We need to expand our minds. And I know we don't do you didn't do any current events, which was great. But sort of in that vein, there's so much coming at us all the time. We're connected to our phones. We're always reading news. Years ago, before the phone, it wasn't like I grew up being a news junkie. My
Yes.
father read the newspaper. We had the newspaper,
yeah.
and then, there was the news, and that was it. It wasn't. Now it's like, it's everything. It's
all digital. Everything has gone digital.
And it's not good. And it's made us not well, and worried about, sometimes, you're worried about things that you don't really have to worry about. And then some things you do have to worry about, and then it's like things that you didn't think about. And like, now I got to worry about that. So it's, as my Greek grandmother would say, o kosmos etrelatike, which means that, and this is how she would say it in her Greek accent, the peoples are going crazy. Okay. So it's like, I don't know, we've lost our minds.
By the way, if you ever come to Ontario, there's a restaurant here called Slovaki Flame. It's a small Greek restaurant, and they have the best food, and the owner, it's just awesome food. I got to ask you this, since you're being Greek, what's your favorite Greek restaurant in New York?
When I was growing up, there really were not a lot of Greek restaurants. Most of the Greek restaurants were in Astoria, which is in Queens, which used to be a very, very big Greek neighborhood. Now it's very gentrified and stuff. There's still Greeks that live there, but not like it was when I was growing up. And plus, my family, my mother, my grandmother, my aunts, they cooked Greek. So we never went out for Greek food because we made it at home. And now, even all these years later, we go out for Greek food. I actually, if anything, I try to support the Greek restaurants. One Greek restaurant that's very good, and they're friends of mine. Full disclosure, but if you like lamb chops, they have the best lamb chops. It's called Souvlaki GR. And they have a couple of locations in Manhattan. There's another restaurant that they have a few locations called Avra. There's one on 48th Street, the original one. I actually like more than it's kind of some of the other ones. There's a great restaurant down in Tribeca called Paros, which is after the island, Paros. So we've got some good ones. Quite frankly, there's only one Greek restaurant. I'm not going to say the name because that would be very rude. But there's one Greek restaurant that's the closest to me, and that is like the only one that I don't really care for. But other than that, they're pretty good. But Souvlaki GR is really, really good.
And I do have a comment here. Oh, I thought it was a comment, but it's spam. Unfortunately, with StreamYard, sometimes you get comments that are spam, so I'm not even going to read it. So, hey, finally, Alan, we're going to wrap this up. Where can our audience follow you on social media, your website, and if you'd like to promote your next live upcoming comedy shows? And you mentioned Buffalo. That's only 2 hours away from me, so maybe in the future I'll make the trip over to Buffalo, because it's only 2 hours for me, and it's a great comedy city as well.
Oh, wow, that'd be great. So social media, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter at Greek Chick Comic, or just put in my name, Ellen Karis, ELLEN KARIS, 1R. Also, I'm on Facebook, Ellen Karis, Greek Goddess of Comedy. I have a fan page, or my personal page. I should probably just merge it because, now I think Facebook allows you more than 5,000 people, and so I think it doesn't really matter anymore. But you can find me on Facebook. And my website, ellenkaris.com, which has my schedule. So yes, this Saturday, September 20th, I'm going to be at the Family Life Center for the Annunciation Church in Buffalo. I believe it's in actually Lancaster is the town that it is. And then on the 27th, I'm going to be on Long Island at the Seaford Library. Then I've got a couple of private things. On October 9th, I'm going to be in Westchester, in Rye, New York, which is Westchester County, for at the Rye Bar and Grill. On the 17th of October, I'm going to be in Westport at the VFW. What am I saying? VFW in Westport, Connecticut. And then I got a bunch of things that I'm doing a little tour with with a friend of mine who is from Toronto. He's from Canada. His name is Angelo Tsaroukis, and he's Greek, but he's pretty well known. He's very good friends with Russell Peters. But he's from Canada. I've done a bunch of Canada shows with him, and he's coming down, and we're going to do a tour. So that's going to be fun. So anyway, just go to my website and everything is there. And, or, again, reach out and follow me. We need likes. I need followers. I need all kinds of stuff.
Ellen, I want to say thank you so much for coming on here today. I would like to have you on again in the future for part 2, because I would ask you a little more next time about your transition from being a Wall Street analyst, CPA, into the comedy industry as well.
Okay, you got it. So, we'll do it. We'll make a date.
Thank you so much, and continued success as a stand-up comedian, as an author, as an actress, and with your work with Sunday schools. And I think this hour and a bit flew by quick, and I want to say thank you so much. Give me a little bit of time tonight, and I will send you the full video, the audio, and I will edit the video into 30, 40-second clips, because everyone's attention spans nowadays is diminishing.
Yeah, I know. That's another problem we could talk about the next time. All right. Thank you so much. You are really a delight. I really, 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 really appreciate it, Chris.
Thank you so much, Alan, and continued success. And have a great show in the Buffalo area Saturday, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care. Bye, everybody.
You too. Thank you. Bye, Alan.
Bye.
All right, everyone, that concludes season 11, episode 39, overall 589 of Live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership here in Guelph. I have another announcement to make. The next Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is going to be on Wednesday, September 17th, at 8 p.m. Eastern with my special guest, her first appearance. Her name is Kim Avery. She is an actress. So Kim Avery will be on this Wednesday, September 17th at 8 p.m. And the next Argo Bells podcast show with Nick Small and myself will be sometime this week. The day and time to be announced as well. And speaking of the Toronto Argonauts, I took my cousins Jim and Kyle Marshall to BMO Field on Saturday for the Argos Elks game. They had a great time at BMO Field. They loved the atmosphere. The Argos coming back 31-30 in the last play of the game, and hopefully they'll be back. And I want to say thank you to Mike Ross, the public address announcer for the Toronto Maple Leafs, for meeting Kyle and Jim and doing a selfie as well. So a shout out to Mike Ross, the voice of the Toronto Maple Leafs at Scotiabank Arena. Mike is also a big Toronto Argonauts fan, so thank you so much. And Kyle and Jim and Ryan before, they've had a great time this summer going to Argonaut games, and the Argos are now 5-8. And their next game is going to be this Friday night, Friday, September 19th, 7 o'clock, against the Montreal Alouettes for the battle of second place in the East. BMO Field, you can get your tickets at argonauts.ca or watch the game on TSN or TSN 1050 on the radio with Mike Hogan and Ben Grant. And fingers crossed, I'm hoping to be at this game as media as well. And please make sure you check out my social media pages for pictures, videos, and some interviews that I did last Friday night from the Hamilton Tiger Cats Winnipeg Blue Bombers game at Hamilton Stadium in Hamilton. Shout out to Juliana and Courtney Steffen from the Hamilton Tiger Cats for my media opportunities with Hamilton's CFL team this year as well. And as we wrap up this show, guys, as always, 1 second, right here, I've got so many graphics on here. Before we wrap up the show, guys, for 2026 Toronto Argonauts season tickets, you can contact the Toronto Argonauts account coordinator, Jada Christian at 416-815-6139 or email Jada.Christian at mlse.com. A shout out to Jada for helping me out and getting some tickets for my cousins Jim and Kyle to come to the game with me this past Saturday. And Argonaut football, the on-field product is A1, the entertainment. A shout out to Jess Smith and Sean Bowen, the in-game hosts too as well. And as we wrap up this show, guys, as always, 2025 track LT, you can finance from 0.99% for 60 months plus a Costco wholesale gift card for $1,200 for eligible Costco executive members, $1,000 card for non-executive members. More details at barrycullen.com or visit the dealership located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. So again, check out Barry Cullen Chevrolet for a new or pre-owned GM vehicle, and also look at a 2025 Trax LT finance from 0.99% for 60 months, and they will throw in a Costco wholesale gift card, and it's $1,200 for executive members and $1,000 for non-executive members. Again, Barry Cullen Chevrolet is the official sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you'd like a personalized video from yours truly, go to cameo.com and type in Chris Palme. I can do happy birthday wishes, happy anniversaries, congratulations on graduating. If you want to ask me questions about my talk show and my media career, go to cameo.com and type in Chris Palme and book your Cameo today. You can also follow me on Blue Sky Social. Blue Sky Social is like what Twitter used to be, at Live with CDP 19. If you're looking to adopt a pet, check out the Cambridge Industrial Humane Society at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. Telephone number 519-623-7722, extension 0, or visit their website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. All the animals that are up for adoption, their profiles are on cambridgehumanesociety.org. And also, if you're looking to help out with a cash donation, you can do so through their website or pop by 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. And their 2026 calendars will be coming out in the next month or two, and they're only going to be $10. So if you're looking for a Christmas gift, I know it's early yet, or a stocking stuffer, please consider purchasing a calendar, a 2026 Cambridge Humane Society calendar. And yours truly, I sold 34 calendars last year. I will be selling them again. So the calendars should be out in the next month or two. I will let you guys know. And the calendars will be reasonably priced at $10. And they really do make a great Christmas gift or a stocking stuffer as well. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. You can also check out my media work through beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. I am also on TikTok. I am a full-time content creator. Check me out on TikTok at Chris Palme, and you can check out my latest content from the Toronto Blue Jays Astros game last week I attended, as well as the Argos and Tiger Cats games I was at on Friday and Saturday. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or podcasting or live stream in general, check out StreamYard.com. They have basic free plans or paid professional plans like I do. And if you do a lot of business and a lot of live streaming or webinars, StreamYard.com and contact your sales department for pricing as well. And yours truly has been with StreamYard for the last 4.5 years. So please consider using StreamYard.com for your live streaming services. Finally, guys, Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. The audio version is on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, YouTube Music, and Good Pods. Please remember to subscribe, follow, and share. Finally, guys, you can email the show Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpalme 19@gmail.com. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback would be greatly appreciated. And also, if you'd like to support my content, my YouTube channel, my talk shows, and you really like my talk shows and content, you can PayPal me at cpalme19@gmail.com on PayPal as well. And finally, you can follow me on these platforms: Facebook, Twitter, X, Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram, LinkedIn, everywhere except Snapchat. And also, I want to say thank you to my 690 YouTube subscribers. 690 subscribed. Thank you so much. Now let's get 10 more subscribers and make it an even 700. So go to Chris Palme, Live with CDP Talk Show. Hit subscribe, like, and share. And I want to say thank you to over 520,000 people viewing my content as well. And I have a lot more content to come, especially from the Argos and Hamilton Tiger Cats and Blue Jays game. YouTube shorts are just as important as anything else as well. So thank you everybody for subscribing and watching my YouTube channel as well. And that is about it for today. I want to say thank you to my special guest, Ellen Karis, who is a stand-up comedian, an author, an actress, and a podcaster, for coming on here today. And our next show again is Wednesday, September 17th, 8 p.m. Eastern, with special guest Kim Avery. And I'm looking forward to that show with Kim as well. Before we wrap up this show, guys, the Philadelphia Eagles are now 2-0 after their thrilling, gritty, I'm going to call them Philly gritty, 20-17 win over the Chiefs. And Jalen Hurts has now beaten Patrick Mahomes 1, 2, 3 straight times. Only Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts have beaten Patrick Mahomes 3 straight times, and Hurts has won 2 straight games at Arrowhead Stadium. So Chiefs are now 0-2, taking on the New York Giants next week on Sunday Night Football, and the Eagles are back home at the Link this Sunday at 1 o'clock against Matt Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams, and a rematch of the NFC divisional round last year, where Jalen Carter's big sack of Stafford sealed the deal. So the 2-0 Rams, Eagles 2-0, and in this game, Andrew Makuba had that big interception, but before he intercepted that ball that was tipped out of Kelsey's hands, Jalen Carter, the big nose tackler, number 98, deflected that ball, which affected how Kelsey was trying to catch it. And Makumba, the rookie, returned it 42 yards to the Philly 42, and the Eagles capitalized on a touchdown by Jalen Hurts in 2017. So the Eagles are now off to a really good start. I thought the defense was good, and my Eagles players of the game, number 1, Andrew Makuba, with that interception that stopped the Chiefs from getting 7 points, and Philly got 7 points. That was a 14-point swing. Saquon Barkley, 22 carries, only 88 yards, but a touchdown, and he was very effective when they needed him. And the third-star kicker and the kicker and probably the greatest kicker in Eagles history with 2 Super Bowl rings, Jake Elliott. Jake only had 2 for 2 for field goals, but he kicked a 58-yard field goal right at the half, which tied the game up at 10. And then in the third quarter, he hit a 51-yarder. So Jake Elliott, who struggled last year in the regular season, came on in the playoffs, and this year he's already got 3 for 3 in 50-plus yard kicks. So shout out to Makumba, Barkley, and Jake Elliott, and looking forward to their playoff rematch with the LA Rams this Sunday at 1 o'clock at the Link. And you can listen to that game on 94.1, the WIP in Philadelphia, with Merle Reese, Mike Quick, and Devin Caney as well. Monday Night Football tonight, guys. We got 2 games tonight. We got Tampa Bay, Houston at 7 o'clock, and then the late game is the LA Chargers, who are 1-0, coming off one against Kansas City, taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. So we got Buccaneers and Texans at 7, and Chargers and Raiders at 10 p.m. I hope everybody has a great night, and we'll see you back here Wednesday night at 8 p.m. with actress Kim Avery. And again, special thank you to Ellen Karis, a stand-up comedian out of New York, for coming on here. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Collins Chevrolet, and we'll see you back here Wednesday night for another edition of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. Good night, everybody.